Hello and welcome to Body Bags. This is week 243 and I am James, your fill-in reviewer. And if you hadn't guessed by now, the film that I wanted to cover tonight is the Norwegian fantasy horror Trollhunter. This is a film by André Øvredal, I think the pronunciation is. People might know him a little bit more from a more recent film of his that was a couple of years ago now, 18 months or something like that, which was The Autopsy of Jane Doe. Fantastic film. And yes, this is his take on some Nordic or Scandinavian mythology on the story of trolls. So yeah, I'll just jump straight into the synopsis of the film. So you have a bunch of reporters. Well, they're actually students, and they picked up on a story that there have been some bear killings, some suspicious bear killings. As in Norway, there's a certain time of year when you're allowed to hunt bears, and this is out of the bear hunting season, and it's quite an odd thing. It's not a normal thing, so few people have picked up on this, and these students have decided to, for their studies, do a project on this. Anyway, they find this rather unusual guy that seems to be tracking or trying to track who's doing these bear killings, and they approach him to start with to ask if they can interview him, and he's not too happy with this. He doesn't want anything to do with them. He wants to be left on his own. Quite an unusual character, and so they basically decide to follow him, and one thing leads to another, and they basically follow him down this kind of country path into the middle of the woods in the middle of the night, and he comes running out the middle of nowhere screaming troll, which they're like, what the hell's going on? And you see your first troll, basically. And everyone's a little bit shocked, obviously, that everyone thinks trolls are not real. Well, obviously in this film they are. And then the rest of the film, you're just following him. He agrees for them to follow them, and they film him during his encounters with trolls as he's trying to figure out what's going on. Obviously, with more conversation with him, they find out that he's actually an official troll hunter. I think he's the only one of this government wing that they official troll hunters. Yeah, and he's trying to find out what's wrong, because apparently the trolls are normally, there's kind of rules that they live to, and for some reason they're breaking these rules. So he wants to find out what's going on. And there's a few people that are in this organisation, obviously not the troll hunters themselves, there's only him, but there's a guy that helps with the cover-ups. Like when there's been one of these killings and there's like carnage everywhere, like trees demolished and that they in touch with some Russian guys that bring dead bears over and drop them in the woods, and when the TV people turn up or whoever to investigate, they're like, clearly there's a bear that's gone crazy and someone's killed them. And then there's another woman who is a scientist, and she's helping him, like she's friends with him, and he manages to get a sample from one of them, and they actually find out that the trolls have rabies, and this is what made them go crazy. But anyway, throughout the film we get to see different trolls who have their own unique features and habits. It's quite interesting to see. I'm not too up to date, too au fait with the Scandinavian mythology of trolls, but I know a little bit, a few bits and pieces from my childhood stories that I remember. And I think people, although wouldn't know everything, will pick up on a lot of things, and there'll be some familiarity with this. And yeah, it's a great and entertaining movie. I didn't mention it's actually found footage. So these are the students, they're actually like film students, and they have all this like nice kit from the school. So there's these nice HD cameras. So obviously everything's filmed on those. So although it's found footage, it's very clean and clear. You can hear everything, you can see everything, and yeah, it works quite well with the seeing the trolls at night time. So you see them, and it's a little bit darker, a little bit grainy, and this with the CGI, it just fits really well. It looks good. I don't think the budget was too great for this, but the CGI holds up quite nicely. There's a few funny bits. I'm not sure if it's meant to be funny, but they come across funny. But that's something actually about the film. The the cast is, there's quite a few famous Norwegian comedians in there, and I don't know why that is, why that was decided to cast them, but they seem to do a pretty good job. I mean, it's a Norwegian, and I don't speak Norwegian, unfortunately, but I mean, from the acting point of view, that everyone seems to be doing a good job. And yeah, it's like I said, it's just a really entertaining found footage film. There's plenty of story in there. You learn more about the mythology. There's interesting characters to follow. Like the hunter himself is quite a hilarious guy, but even where he's living in his van, his shack, his truck, it's like you got different bits and pieces in there that link again really well to the mythology of trolls. And yeah, it's a really interesting ending as well. It's it's quite an unexpected film. Yeah, I did hear about it. Obviously I heard about it, but I had an idea of what it was before. It wasn't really like a blind first time watch, but I was really impressed with what was done. And you can see, and you could tell he's a talented filmmaker, obviously, when he's gone on to make a film like The Autopsy of Jane Doe, with such a strong, interesting story that has a lot of solid mythology to it. He's someone that seems to really know his stuff. He does a lot of research and also puts in a good amount of work with the characters as well. So it's not all about story, it has solid, strong characters. And it obviously helps when he gets great actors in. It makes an all-round solid film. But anyway, that was my review on Trollhunter. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to speak to you all soon again. Bye bye.